Sidebar: for those of you that have been following since the beginning, you may have noticed a small gap in the video release schedule. That is because my day job is in the snow removal business. There has been lots of snow here in the Midwest. Therefore, I have not had much free time to create more content. I plan to be better about this in the future. Sidebar over. Back in October 2020, while driving the wagon, I heard a strange noise. Every time the brake pedal was applied, there was a low-pitched grinding noise. Whatever it was, it did not sound happy. After a quick inspection, I found the issue. Check this out. The passenger rear inside brake pad had worn down to metal. When that metal touches the metal of the rotor, it grinds and grinds, making noise that can be heard inside the car. Time to replace some parts. To prove the effectiveness of new pads and rotors, here's a brake test of the old rotors. It is manageable, but the brake pedal feels lazy. The solution? New parts? Race parts? Parts. Inside the box, we have new caliper slide rubbers, a new spring, different caliper slide rubbers, and the new pads themselves. I am not going to replace any of the slide rubbers at this time. There are only a few tools you will need. For the front, impact with a 17mm socket, a flathead screwdriver, 3/8 ratchet with 18mm socket and a 7mm Allen socket, pliers or channel locks, hammer, piston compression tool, a brush, and a bungee strap. The rear uses many of the same tools, along with a rotating piston compression tool, an 8mm Allen socket, and also a 13mm and 15mm wrenches. Let's start with the front brakes, since these do the majority of the braking. Jack up the car and remove the wheel. Disconnect the electrical brake wear sensor connector and remove the caliper slide caps. For the electrical connector, use a pocket screwdriver to pry the latch open. Then rotate the connector body in the mount 90 degrees and remove it from the bracket. The caliper slide caps pop out with a little effort. The retaining spring on the front is next to be removed. Take a flathead screwdriver and pry it out. There is a lot of tension on this spring. Take care when removing. A 7mm Allen socket is used to remove the caliper slide bolts. The caps removed earlier keep these clean, reducing the chance of rust and head stripping. With the slides loose and the spring removed, the caliper will slide off the bracket. Use a bungee strap or wire to hold it up out of the way. The inside brake pad pops out of the caliper piston. The wear sensor wire is a bit tricky to remove from around the brake line. Careful prying on the brake line can help create enough space to remove the connector. Pop the other brake pad out of the bracket. Now we can see where the pad was supposed to be rubbing. This thick rust ring proves it was not. Rust don't lie. On some Volkswagens, the brake rotor can be removed without removing the bracket. I attempted to try this now. Spoilers, it cannot. Reinstall a wheel bolt to the hub and grab the whacking stick to break the rotor loose from the hub. Now you get to watch me struggle and realize the bracket needs to be removed as well. Enjoy! Two 18mm bolts hold the caliper bracket in place. Now the rotor can be free. Right, let's get those new rotors clean. A quick spray down with brake clean removes any oil and particles from the rotor surface, which could adversely affect braking performance. It's a good idea to clean the hub as well before starting the new rotor. Use an old brake pad as a brace to press the caliper piston back into the caliper. Install the new rotor to the hub, using a wheel bolt to hold it in place. Put some lube on the caliper slides. I chose to go with the silicone spray. Anti-seize will work as well. There are 4 places to clean and lubricate on the caliper bracket. I chose anti-seize. This will help the new pads slide freely and reduce the chance of noise. Reinstall the bracket, brake pads, and caliper. Route the wear sensors wiring through the brake line. Tighten all the brake bolts by hand to ensure they are all properly tight. Don't forget the front spring. This keeps the caliper properly installed. Reinstall the wear sensor connector. Finally, reinstall the wheel. Pump the brake pedal a couple times before starting the engine to remove any slack in the new pads. Quick note, Don't forget the caliper slide covers like this chump. Onto the rears. There are two 13mm bolts holding the caliper in place. A 15mm wrench is used to counterhold the nut. With the bolts removed, the caliper can be pried off of the pads, and the pads can be removed by hand. Hang the caliper out of the way with a bungee strap. Here again, we get to watch a chump of a technician try to remove the rotor without removing the bracket. What could possibly go wrong? I just had to jinx it, didn't I? Factory rotors are not two-piece rotors. There are two 8mm Allen bolts that hold the bracket to the knuckle. Once removed, the rotor can also be removed. Man, that is one big hunk of rust. A different piston compression tool is needed for the rear caliper. The parking brake is built into the piston and needs to be spun to retract. This tool can be rented from the auto parts store. Like the fronts, clean the new rotors and hub mount surfaces. There are no wear sensor wires to worry about. Pad and caliper installation is simple. Tighten everything by hand. Reinstall the wheel and check the brake fluid level. Bed the new pads per the instructions. Time to see what these new brakes are made of. That was a noticeable difference. Let's see a side-by-side comparison. There you have it. Rust does not make a good braking setup. Enjoy the gratuitous shots of the old rotors. This is Rooster. Time to break away for the next project.